Hi, I'm Richard Boele, Managing Director of Banarra, which is a boutique sustainability consultancy. In fact, we're just recording this at a conference on ISO 26000, and one of the speakers today was actually asking the question, well, not one of the speakers, one of the questions from the floor was, well, maybe we need to think heart and mind in terms of this change that we're trying to bring about in terms of the corporate world. And we need to ask ourselves, why are we here? And for me, it all comes back to this point in last week of January 1993, and I met this very short African gentleman from Nigeria who had a pipe in his hand even though we were inside, and looking up at me because I'm a little bit taller than he was telling me about Shell in Nigeria and how irresponsible Shell were in terms of their environmental performance, in terms of their social performance, and even in terms of just simple things like giving local Ogoni people jobs. And I remember Ken looking at me and he just said, you don't believe me, do you? And here I was, we're talking 1993, so it's...
This is Ken Saro
Wiwa. This is quite some years ago. I guess I was still fairly young. Certainly feel a bit older now, pretty young back then. And I said, no, I don't. This is Shell. They're around the corner from where I grew up. They're on the corner there. I grew up with them at the end of the street. You saw Shell everywhere. This was a global company that was a respectable. I know people who wanted to work at Shell. Because that was where you went if you were an engineer. You went to the best engineering company in the world, and that was Shell. And he said, well, you mark my words, you'll come to understand what I'm talking about. And that was January 1993, and I can remember the first fax come through in March 1993. Shell contractor Will Brothers was laying a pipeline through Ogoni, and Ogoni people had been killed. And I just sat there and I just thought, hang on, that's fundamentally wrong. No one should die because a company wants to put a pipeline. Doesn't matter where the pipeline goes, what the purpose of the pipe. Putting a pipeline down and seeing people die, that should never be the consequence of a business activity. And that for me, I think, was the really crystallising moment that I just thought, no, this is not right. And there were many people that I had the privilege of working with where there was conflict, and there was a major corporation that was looking to extract resources that was part of that play. And I guess that was, for me, a commitment to human rights that I'd had probably since university, and being involved in the Tibet issue now suddenly came into, I guess, be brought together with business. And I guess it was because of Ken and the Ogoni issue that I had this fantastic position of working in an international human rights organisation and needing to deal with Shell managers in London. And talking to them, having them fly over to Holland, us having lunch, and then having the Ogoni on the phone and them saying, but what they're saying is lies. And then the people in London, what they're saying is lies. Ken's just after making a living. He's driving his own agenda here. You've got to watch the messenger here. And it was an amazing 2.5-year education between when I first met Ken and then when he was executed in November 1995. And it was very clear to me why he was executed. He was executed because he was, perhaps one of the most successful community representatives in challenging a multinational corporation and the business partner, which was then a nasty military dictatorship. And I don't think Shell ever came to terms with what it means to be in partnership with a military dictatorship, in a business partnership. You have wider responsibilities for your partner. This idea of being married to someone and it doesn't matter what the partner does, you've got no responsibility. That's their fiction. It's a fiction. And I think that's what Shell still struggle with. That partnership led to a terrible, I guess, conclusion, and that was that the partner decided to act and they executed these troublesome activists who were making such a bad name for that joint venture around the world. Ken was a brilliant communicator, and he was able to use the resources and create a global campaign. And I think that's why when Ken and the others were executed in 1995, I think history will probably look back, and I think already those who look back, that is a landmark point in terms of corporate responsibility or corporate sustainability, in terms of this, I guess, perfect storm of failed economic development, environmental degradation, and then abuse of human rights, and a corporate being a major actor, a major contributor to all those three failures. That you had this almost implosion and then global realisation of, no, that's wrong.
And here we are 15 years later, and what's happened in the interim? I think Shell has tried to respond.
Yep.
So what's your take on where we've got to?
2 weeks ago I went to Avatar, and I walked out of it sort of having had this profound experience, which I almost feel embarrassed to say, here's this cheesy Hollywood film by Titanic director Cameron, and I'm a sustainability practitioner for the last 15 years because of that Agoni experience, and here I sit in the cinema and I'm watching this story which has the mining company as evil incarnate. The good and true global goodness and Gaia, is there with these sort of indigenous people on another planet. I'm going, there's the Agoni, there's Shell. What's now happened is the story that's played over again and again in terms of community conflict and corporations not understanding, not getting it, has now become part of our global mythology. So if we to accept that Hollywood is our true zeitgeist, and what they come out with in the most popular films, a true sort of reflection of what's going on globally. Maybe we're at another turning point here. Not to give too much emphasis, but ask the question, what's the future now need for corporations to be able to operate? What are they going to need to do to earn that social license to operate? I suggest that the popularity of Avatar tells us it's just got a lot harder. It's a lot tougher now going forward if we accept that that is a reflection of how distrusted corporations have now become.
Although isn't that really a sort of an oversimplification and a stereotype of the evil corporation and the sort of utopian indigenous community living in harmony with nature?
Yes, it is, absolutely, because it's a Hollywood story, but why does a story like that become so popular? What is it that people see in that they really relate to, and they see as, I guess, something that is an expression of where their thinking is at now, even if it's at an unconscious level? Because I'd argue most people who go and see Avatar won't walk out thinking that's a profound corporate sustainability story. But I think we have a responsibility to look forward. Yes, what's those last 15 years brought post, what I think Ken Saro Wiwa's real legacy is to global corporate responsibility, sustainability. That was if you like, he truly was a martyr for that whole movement, because his execution catalysed a transformation at Shell. That they incorporated human rights into their business principles was just incredible. And looking back with 15 years, I think we appreciate it more and more the further we go into the future, how important that moment was in time for this whole transformation of the global corporate. Now I think we've got to really take that on board. I think we've had some transformation, but it is almost like the steam's running out. The changes are getting more incremental. As we get more and more norms, and I think even you, Wayne, were sort of proposing that with this idea of CSR 1 and CSR 2, and I guess that's what I'm seeing too, is that we have a discourse now that has become the discourse of business. Business is comfortable with it. And in many ways I think that's a danger, because its true transforming power then becomes diminished because of that. So that's where my challenge is, particularly to the other actors, is step it up. Don't let corporates get comfortable. Now's not the time to do that. Now's the time to have the next step up.
Absolutely. Thanks very much.